Hello and welcome to the first of what I hope will be many Eurogamer podcast video casty things involving the wonderful Eurogamer news team. I'm Wesley and Paul, Deputy Editor. I'm joined by Tom Phillips, News Editor. Say hello, Tom.
Hello, how's it going?
Good. And Emma Kent, our reporter. Say hello, Emma.
Hello.
If this works and isn't terrible, we'll hope to do regular chats about the news, inspired really by the imminent launch of the next generation of consoles, which is a once every sort of 7-odd year event, and seemed like a really good time to start something like this with so much to talk about. Anyway, I thought it would be good to start by having a brief chat about what we're playing at the moment. Emma, you're playing Hades, right?
Yes, and I'm giving Wes daily updates on my progress because he is yet to complete it. So
yeah, Hades is too hard for me. I've given up. I have to admit I've given up. But you've completed it like twice or something?
Yeah, I think you need kind of young, fast reactions to do it. So I've completed it about 5 times now. I think I've got one weapon left to do.
Oh my god.
So
yeah, I don't think I'll ever finish it. Quality game, but a bit beyond me.
I found actually I enjoyed it more once I just kind of relaxed and was just messing around with the builds rather than being like, I have to complete it the first time and I have to do it within a certain amount of times, because I was comparing myself to how my friends were doing. And a lot of it is just kind of luck. Literally, I just got an excessively strong build for a spear and did a complete run from that, and it barely gave me any trouble. But it's silly, you get some ridiculous runs where nothing's going right and you're just like, okay, whatever, I'll just deal with this. And then others where it just feels incredible, you're just smashing through enemies. Yeah, and it looks beautiful.
I wouldn't know. What run, out of interest, did you finish it for the first time?
It was run 32, I think.
Oh my god.
31 or 32.
I'm in the 50s and I haven't finished it. Yeah, I'm not my age in run terms. So yeah, I think I should just give up. I heard about some god mode but it hasn't triggered for me. Apparently, when the game will notice when you're crap and will trigger a god mode that helps you.
It's still got faith in you, Wes.
Or it has triggered, yeah.
And it's still so bad that even God mode won't save you.
It was so crap I didn't even notice the game is trying to help because it made no difference. Oh, and that sobering thought. Tom, what are you playing at the moment?
I'm playing Pikmin 3 Deluxe for Switch, which is very much the same game as Pikmin 3 on Wii U. I published a preview of it relatively recently. I'm still under embargo for the review, so I can't really say a huge amount, but it is very much the same game. They said there are a few new things added, some of which we can talk about at the moment. You can read the preview on the website right now, some of which you can't. It's a really fun game. I'd love to see more Pikmin games come out down the line. Since Miyamoto did confirm to Eurogamer 4 years ago that another one was in development, you would hope that will appear at some point.
Do you think that there was something lost in translation when you spoke to Miyamoto about that? And what he actually meant when he said Pikmin 4 was Pikmin in 4 years. And now you've got it.
Or 40 years. Yeah. No, he really meant what he said, and we followed up. I talked to him again at E3 the next year. This is a really funny one that kind of illuminates some of the weirdness of Nintendo as a developer, that they have these projects which they will just mothball or put on the shelf, even if they're done, because the timing's not quite right, the market's not quite right. And I would really hope that Pikmin 4 is not like scrubbed and
oh god, you think they might have canned it?
Well, I think it's obviously not come out when they had hoped it would come out back then, but then a lot of things changed because Wii U wasn't the success it was, and now he was sort of, I think it's logical for them to bring 3 Deluxe out first to reintroduce that franchise to a market which like there hasn't been a new Pikmin game in about a decade, so I think that's the smart thing to do first, and then once it's the cheaper thing to do first as well because it's a port, and then go with the new game from there.
Right, so maybe Pikmin 4 in 2021.
I mean, that would be nice. Just on the Switch at some point would be nice.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I've been playing. What have you been playing, Wes?
I have been playing FIFA, and
Shock.
I hate it so much, but I'm still playing it. I don't know why I do this to myself. I get so upset playing FIFA. When someone scores against me, I get really upset in a really juvenile, horrid kind of way. And
Maybe you should just not let people score against you.
Yeah, maybe I should just finish Hades. Yeah, and I've been playing Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War when they've been running the beta. They had one over the weekend, and they're just about to start a new one. So I've been playing a lot of that. Call of Duty and FIFA, which is just my life.
The two staples.
Yeah.
You could ask this question any year.
Yeah, God, that's depressing, isn't it? Right. Anyway, so next gen consoles. Emma, I'll ask you first. Are you getting one?
I mean, I'm not buying one with my own money, but I think hopefully I will be able to review one of the Xbox One's Series S at some point.
Xbox Series S.
Yeah.
Okay, so the Xbox Series S is a super cheap option for next gen, right? I was surprised at how cheap it was. That doesn't come with a disk drive and isn't as powerful. But I think and you can, I guess, expect sort of like 1080p resolutions for games on it as opposed to 4K, which the X will offer. But it could be a good choice, I think. I mean, Destiny 2, for example, is running at 60 FPS on the S as well as the X. And as someone without a 4K telly, and I don't really have any interest in getting one, that's fine for me. I think
it's kind of a Game Pass machine, right? That's like its big selling point is you'll have access to that whole library. So, and all of that obviously is downloaded, so you don't need a disk drive for that.
Exactly, so, and it's kind of designed to like cycle through the content so that you're kind of changing through it, and you don't have everything just stored consistently on like one big storage system. I guess if you're going for Game Pass, you'll probably be doing a lot of uploading and downloading. So it feels like it works well for that.
I think that console will come into its own when xCloud launches on Xbox, right? Because you'll be able to basically demo Game Pass games super quick on a whim via streaming on your S without really thinking about it. It'll just be an incredible thing, I think. What will be the first game you play on the Xbox Series S when it arrives? Emma?
Oh my gosh.
What is the first thing you're going to do?
No.
So you've gone through the process, you set it up, it's all updated, and the Xbox says, right, Emma.
I think I might try. I think I might try Sekiro, and the reason being because I've normally played that on my PC, and it makes such a difference playing it on PC versus playing it on one of the last gen consoles, just because the frame rate when it's at 60 makes a huge difference, and because of the back compat features and the improvements with the new Xbox, it should hopefully improve it a lot, even on Series S. So,
okay, good hardcore game choice. I like it. Tom, what are you going to get?
I pre-ordered an X, which is a lot of money, but I'm still on the launch versions of the current gen consoles. I didn't buy an Xbox One X. Or a PS4 Slim during that time, so I'm kind of reticent to go for those mid-generation upgrades because they are a lot of money again, and I don't often like upgrade when something works perfectly well. So it's been a while, and I didn't go on holiday this year for obvious reasons, and so and I'm going to be spending more time at home probably for a while. So it seemed like, yes, I'll jump in now and get a new console when it's shiny and new.
So
which will see me
what I'm interested in
for a
is why go for an X as opposed to a PS5? They're both the
Well,
same price.
Yeah, they are. Well, several reasons. I think the main one is familiarity with Xbox as an ecosystem. I have a bunch of games there, and I mean that stretches back to the 360. I was one of those people who bought an Xbox One at launch, crying as I was giving money to Don Matrick, and I think I still have like.
What with Connect? Did you fork out for one with Connect?
No, I didn't. Oh no, you did, yeah, because it was bundled in, and that's why it was more expensive. And then they tried to sweeten the deal by throwing in a digital copy of FIFA like 14 or something, which I never actually redeemed.
Right up your street.
If anyone wants a free copy of FIFA 14, I literally still have the digital download code for it. Never. Yeah, and so like I have this really long heritage with the Xbox, so I have a huge library which I want to continue playing, and I want to play those games with them all looking better. And not only that, but I prefer the controller, and that's a big thing for me. I use it on PC. I use it like generally if I have a long single player game that I want to just like cozy into my couch and play, like Assassin's Creed Odyssey. I just prefer playing on Xbox because of that controller. So that's a big part of it too. And
the Xbox One controller is fantastic. I have to admit, it's better than the PS4 controller, and also it will work on all Xbox Series X games, whereas the PS4 controller won't play PS5 games. So
yeah, I mean that's an interesting point, isn't it? So there are these differences that are coming up now as we move from generation to the next, and a bunch of those decisions seem to be a bit more generous on the Xbox side of things than on the PlayStation one. And you can make that argument that it's because Xbox are needing to make these
yes, they are.
They're needing to go the extra
mile.
The
losers always do the interesting stuff to catch up.
Yeah, well, like Sony didn't have a great gen back in PS3 days, and against the 360, and then you saw them come back with PS4, and Xbox stumbled. And I think it's a simplification to say there's always a winner and a loser, and they swap every generation. But it does seem to be like the start of this generation, Xbox is doing a lot better than they were at the start of the last. I think that's something that we can all agree on. So yeah, I'm going with Xbox. I will get a PS5 down the line, but money, so not for a bit.
Okay, cool. Well, let's talk about the latest next gen developments, and there've been a huge amount today. We're recording this on the afternoon of Thursday, the 15th of October. Sony has just unveiled the PlayStation 5 user interface for the first time a few weeks before the console comes out, and Microsoft has just announced the Xbox Series X launch lineup, which includes 31 optimized for Xbox Series X games. And
you probably have already.
That you probably have already, or at least have played somewhere. But that's obviously in addition to all the thousands of games that are backwards compatible, which is a similar case on PlayStation 5. I think they've said like 99% of PS4 games will work on PS5. So let's start with the PS5 user interface. Emma, you have some interesting things to say about what they're doing regarding spoilers. So first off, how does it work, and what do you think about it?
Yeah, so basically, I was watching the kind of state of play when they're introducing it, and I just kept noticing it, and it kept being like, "Oh, it prevents spoilers! It prevents spoilers!" Like every few minutes with these features. So one of the things that they're trying to prevent you from kind of reading spoilers is they have basically like in-game guides videos that pop up kind of contextually for where you need it, and like the devs can decide where they come up, and that's kind of intended to stop you looking at guides pages on the internet and potentially spoiling the game for yourself. And then also like if you're messaging videos to each other in a party chat, the devs can kind of recognize when you might be sending a screenshot or a video that's got a spoiler that the other person hasn't got to in that point in the game, and it will give you like a little warning. And I was just thinking, like, this seems like, very excessive. I don't know. It's just they were really emphasizing it as like one of the main points, and I think it's just. I guess a lot of people will appreciate that, but it does feel like everyone is very obsessed with preventing spoilers thanks to the internet and just generally. But I never really find that they ruin a narrative for me or anything like that. I don't really see it as like a major problem. Speaking as a journalist who gets everything spoiled before they get a chance to actually play the game, it's never stopped me enjoying like Red Dead Redemption 2 or like literally any game that I've ever researched. And yeah, I just found it interesting that that was one of the kind of key selling points of like the UI system in a way.
Yeah, it's incredible that spoiler warnings is a selling point for a console now. Right? I mean, I guess that's how important it must be for people. They won't have done this without their user research, and people will have probably said, you know, I'm worried about getting spoiled if they have this system. So it's probably a reaction more than anything else.
I think it is a reaction, and I think you only have to look to one of the biggest stories earlier this year, which was the leaks of The Last of Us 2. Although that was pre-release, so it wouldn't have been affected by people sending screenshots of a certain moment in the campaign to each other. I think it does speak to the nature of Sony's games as big blockbusters, often single-player narrative stories like God of War, Last of Us, Uncharted, Spider-Man, and I think it is a bigger deal for them over Xbox at least. But people, like the fans, really care.
Can't spoil Xbox games if there are no Xbox games.
It's grounded. One day they'll get out of the garden, maybe. But no, I think that, you know, I think it is a reaction to that in a way, and I can definitely see Naughty Dog saying, well, look, you know, we spend 6 years building this game and someone gets an early copy and leaks it, and the damage that does is huge. And I believe there's already a feature on PS4 that stops you broadcasting play from certain points. So it might be built off the same stuff as that. But yeah, it's an odd one. I tweeted about it earlier saying this is a really good idea, and then I'm getting people in my mentions right now saying, so you're pro-censorship, huh? Have you read 1984?
Oh my God, that's insane. Are you serious? People are evoking George Orwell in the context of spoiler warnings on PS5. Some people are just, they live in a different planet.
I don't know if Epic can do it then.
I think PS4 has sort of had some of this. This obviously goes further, and I think based on what I saw at least, there's some sort of system in place that will work out if you're sharing something of a game that is further ahead than they've got in that game, right? So it will sort of it will have some sort of sense of whether the person you're sending it to has seen what you're about to send them, which I think is a really clever system. Which, you know, I don't really care about spoiler warnings really, but that it could be used in different ways down the line in years to come.
Yeah, no, it's clever, and I think it's definitely suited to the market. Like, they know what they're doing, and that people want this. My gripe is just at society. Like, we need to stop caring about spoilers. This is my hot take for the day. Let them wash over you and just enjoy the narrative and how it's told.
I'm sorry.
I can understand it for like a whodunit, like. But
if you spoil Game of Thrones for me, I'll be so pissed off. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I guess that one is a little bit more about like the whole point is who ends up on the throne at the end.
Yeah. Well, one of the other things I thought was really fascinating about the user interface was a system that can indicate to you how far off you are to completing like a level or something. So there might be like the game will somehow work out the percentage completion you have for maybe like an area in a game, and then work out a rough time it will take you to complete it. And I've never seen anything like that before in games, let alone a console. And I think it's a really interesting idea, but it sets off so many alarm bells in my head about how they work that out, because, you know, there might be like, okay, you haven't got the X number of collectibles in Little Big Planet, and so that's sort of easy to work out as a sort of raw percentage. But even then, how do you translate that into how long it will take? All right, so look, I'm playing Hades, yeah. Right, Hades is.
Are you though?
Say I'm playing Hades, and
You're trying to play Hades.
I'm trying to play Hades. That game on PS5. That game might go well. You know, you've done this number of runs, but how in the hell can it estimate how long it's going to take me to finish it?
It would probably make you feel terrible.
Yeah, it might be like
you should have done it like 3 hours ago. Like, what are you doing?
It might be like for you, it would be like 10 minutes, just a few, like 10 minutes, you're 10 minutes away. And it might be for me, it might be like, just don't, you know, like infinity symbol, just don't bother. Like, how is it going to work? There's so many games that I can't imagine this just making no sense for.
Yeah, I can imagine some games it just be so difficult to understand as well. Like, you might approach a boss with just completely different setup. You know, like if you do like loads of side quests and then come back to like the main story, you might be able to get through it much faster than if you did the main story first and then did side quests and leveled up later. And I don't know how it's going to calculate things like that. Yeah, it seems incredibly complicated.
Or any service game with a sort of like semi-persistent like virtual world. FIFA. Like, how is how is it going to tell me how long I've got left to complete FIFA? I can only imagine this is a very like, you know what this reminds me of a little bit? When Sony released the Vita, and it had, you know, like the touch bits at the back, and some of the first party games very obviously put in features to show off that stuff, and no one ever used it really. It feels to me like first party games will have to make use of this because they're trying to show off the features of the console. But I think it could almost be meaningless for the vast majority of games.
Yeah, you look at like the example that they showed it off with, Sackboy is the perfect example for it because it's like permanent like platformer game with really discrete challenges and levels, and it works for that. Just like those little video clips with guide content, like that collectible is always going to be there whether you play the game now or in 5 years. But none of that system works for games like Fortnite or Warzone or FIFA. And what take up it's going to have and use it's going to have for those games is you just can't make it work for that kind of stuff. It's nice to have. I mean, I would love. The way I thought that it works for the completion time is I think it sort of tracks how long the average player takes to complete a certain bit. So I'd like to know what the average is for like that Hades level that you're still trying to beat.
I mean, it's just the whole game.
Yeah.
Pretty much the whole game. One of the other things about the UI I thought was really cool was this card system, which is, I guess, just a fancy way of visualizing different parts of games, right? Like they were showing off the way that you can just jump into different points in time that you're at in different games, which I've never seen before. Though I mean, there are some ways now that you can sort of like go into maybe multiplayer first or whatever, but not this sort of level of detail. And I think that could be really helpful if it actually works the way I'm hoping it will work, which is bypassing a lot of the faff that you have to go through when you first turn a game on. You know, the whole get it going, loading, signing in, all of that stuff, loading up, an area. If it is as instantaneous and seamless as it was made to look in this video, I think that could be just incredible.
Yeah, and as a way to maybe they can link it with only installing certain parts of the game. Like say you have it for specific modes, so you might only install Battle Royale from Fortnite and not have to worry about the installation for the single player campaign that you never use. It could free up hard drive space there. But yeah, just a way to quicken the amount of time it takes to get into a game.
Everything about next gen to me, so much of it seems to be about time. Like it just the consoles seem to really want you to just be playing games a lot more than you are even just using the console, like, or seeing dashboards, or loading stuff. Everything seems to just make everything a lot quicker, so that you're just playing games a lot more. And I think that's obviously a good thing. And that's not just PlayStation. I think Xbox will obviously have that as well. But what I'm not seeing so far, and I don't know if either of you would agree with this, is anything like that is fundamentally different in terms of the games themselves and what the kind of ideas that they have about them, the gameplay. Yes, performance-wise, better, loading times, frame rate, resolution, more detail, all of that stuff. But I've yet to see anything that couldn't be possible on current gen or PC if they were just a bit more powerful, if they just had more powerful components in them. I'm not seeing anything that's like, like the jump. I remember N64. I was like, well, I've never seen anything like this before. Mario 64, and then some of the stuff PS2 was doing. Those sort of jumps. I'm just not seeing it with these two consoles. I don't know if you guys are seeing anything that's like ticking that box for you.
No, I think it speaks to how people play games now. Service games, keep saying it, but Fortnite, Warzone, games with long-held progression. Destiny, another one. Destiny's getting 4K, they announced today. It's finally getting a field of view slider, something that people have been asking for since like year one of Destiny 1 on console. But it's the same game, and there's only so much you can do when you're still playing the same game, and people want to carry over progress and progression and characters and saves, if saves work on PlayStation 5. So no. And also a lot of, not only if it might not be a service game, but loads of the games that you're going to be playing this year on new consoles are cross-gen, right? So how much can they do? And even the games that we thought maybe weren't cross-gen, now some of them are cross-gen too. So even like first-party exclusives, stuff that you would normally see has been made specifically to show off the new hardware, isn't around yet. And those things I think will in time still seem to be a little bit further out. So like Xbox is launching this year without a Forza, which is a bit of a surprise. And it's not launching with Halo, which is perhaps even more of a surprise. We have to wait a bit longer to see those things that maybe you're talking about.
Fingers crossed. Okay, well, the other big news today, I think, was around the Xbox Series X. We've had a unit for a while now. Digital Foundry is obviously sort of doing its thing regarding all of the specs and performance and all that kind of thing. Chris Tapsell has written an interesting article today about essentially living with the Xbox Series X. So what it's just like actually like from an experiential point of view, what it's like in your house, where it sort of fits in next to your telly, and just the user experience of playing games on it. I think that's well worth a read. One of the other things Microsoft announced today is the launch lineup, and that's something I thought would be good to have a chat about here. So there are 31 optimized for Xbox Series X and S games that are going to be out on the 10th of November. There isn't a single exclusive. And I guess we knew this was coming, but it wasn't until I saw the list where it sort of hammered home for me. This is, I think, the first console launch ever without an exclusive, like a genuine exclusive. I know Gears Tactics is on there, right? But that's been out on PC for a bit. From anyone, first part, there's no first party console exclusive. Which is kind of crazy to me.
Kind of remarkable. I wonder if that is going to make people think, hang on, I'll just hold off until more exclusives kind of come on, like new games that current gen can't really deal with that well. It's just weird. It's just everything the same but better, pretty much.
It's really interesting, I think. Well, of that list, is there anything that takes your fancy that you would like? Yeah, I want to play that on Xbox Series X specifically, or S, I suppose. Or there's nothing really compelling you to to jump straight in? Wow.
Not really sure.
Yeah, see,
I have to have a look at the list
problem,
again.
isn't it?
I didn't see anything like jump out.
This is the problem, isn't it? Yeah. I think like you're going to play Assassins, right, Tom? And
that's a big one for me.
That is top of the list, obviously, but I also think that's top of the list anyway because it's coming out. The release date of Assassin's Vikings is the 10th of November, which is the same day as the Xbox. So it almost feels like an actual launch title, even though it's not an exclusive.
A couple of weeks later, you've got Cyberpunk. So really, I'm set, and I'm not really feeling. I'm going to be honest. I talk about being involved in the Xbox ecosystem, but I'm not a huge fan of Halo or Gears or any of their exclusives, and honestly, not hugely into like some of the big PlayStation franchises either. What I want for Xbox and PlayStation is just a good place to play multi-platform games, games with others, and I want them to look as good as they can. And that's partly why I'm getting an Xbox right now, because I want Valhalla and Cyberpunk and other third-party games to play as nice as they can, rather than on my aging last or current gen hardware. I am looking forward to Tetris Effect and it having a multiplayer mode.
Yeah, and that actually is another one that's sort of getting there when it comes to like a exclusive territory. It's also coming out on PC at the same time, so it's not coming out on PlayStation then. It's a sort of Xboxy exclusive thing that isn't quite Xbox. But for me, I'll just play that on PC. That's fine. I'm not buying an Xbox Series X just to play Tetris Effect. Let's put it that way. I think for me, Cyberpunk is a really important game in this whole conversation, because I don't know about you, but I suspect that game is going to run really badly on current gen consoles. Like, I wouldn't what I've seen of that game running gameplay wise, and what I've heard, about how it's going. The idea of that running on a base Xbox One,
honestly, I played some like Fallen Order when it first came out on base Xbox One, and that could barely kind of wheeze through. So I'm thinking about Cyberpunk. Oh my goodness. Yeah, it's definitely going to be one I'm playing on PC until I know how well it runs on my base PS4. But I think that will definitely be a big motivator for people to think about upgrading.
Yeah, talk about like base PS4. What about the PS4 Pro and its helicopter fan? Imagine that playing Cyberpunk.
Oh God, yeah.
Might add to the atmosphere. I don't know. Noisy city vibes.
Netflix makes my PS4, my base PS4, sound like an airport runway. Netflix. So if I was to put Cyberpunk in there, I think my console would actually fly out the window.
Just turn into a drone and take off.
Yeah. But yeah, for me, like the most compelling thing about getting an next-gen console is to play Cyberpunk, because I'm just so I don't want to ruin my first-time experience with that game on a current-gen console.
I mean, it's also ideal to show off ray tracing, because the whole point is to have kind of moody rain cities.
Yeah.
Ideal.
Yeah. That's exactly right. I think it would be good to talk a little bit about a weird non-issue that became an issue in the context of how we approached, reporting on it and what we wanted to do with it, to do with the Xbox. Now, Tom, you were most familiar with this, I guess, but there was a weirdness about the heat of the Xbox Series X online. Not that long ago, maybe a week ago, a few days ago, I can't remember. So explain to us why people got hot under the collar over Xbox Series X earlier this week.
Well, you have to remember that these consoles, which by the way is very unusual that they would handed out to press like 6-8 weeks before console launch, we're still like a month away. You can only talk about certain things at certain points. Like you get a console, but Microsoft has a marketing plan and they want to talk about specific things at specific moments. So, you're sort of beholden to their marketing schedule. And today, as we're recording this on the 15th, was when you could sort of talk about having the console in your home. Before now, it was more like, how does the back compat features work? Which is good stuff to know, Sony. But it wasn't until today that you could really talk about, it doesn't burn your house down. And so you just need one ill-informed tweet to pop up on Twitter and get passed around. And it was like this dual chimney effect of, oh my God, Xbox burns people's houses down. And the other one is, well, we can't tell you that they don't burn people's houses down. And then it just created this QAnon style conspiracy that actually games journalists with Xboxes were all having to take out second mortgages in case Microsoft incinerated their flats this Christmas, when really it got hot, because it's doing its job, because like the fan exhaust is supposed to take hot air like it does in your computer out of the console, and if it's doing that, then it's probably a good thing rather than it melting your console sat in front of your TV. But of course you can't, this is the frustrating thing with embargo sometimes. You see this stuff come up and you can't say, guys, this is bollocks, because you just can't talk about this thing.
The best they had was some kind of weird half tweets being like, do you think they'd send the units out if this was happening?
yeah.
Guys.
Well, so it was dumb.
The embargo is up now for the big preview beat, I guess they call it, for Xbox Series X. And in Chris's feature, he does say it's not hot.
Maybe it's because the top of the Xbox kind of looks like a griddle or something. I don't know. Like maybe you could grill something on it. People are just feeding hungry, being like, hoping it's warm at the top.
It reminds me of a crumpet.
Yeah. Don't pour butter in that.
Yeah, whatever you do, don't put butter on it. But yeah, if that weird, horrible green was replaced by like almost a yellow, goldeny, browny colour, then it's crumpet. Right, so that's a weird thing that sort of happened. But I was reminded of it because another interesting next gen story that sort of got a little bit twisted, I suppose is the right way to put it, that emerged overnight, and we've reported on this today on the site regarding the PS5 spying on people. And I guess this is another one of those sorts of cases where things have the perception doesn't match the reality, but the perception counts, because people sort of hear these things and then it becomes reality when enough people are sort of like talking about it on social media. Emma, do you want to talk about what exactly this is relating to and what happened?
Yeah, so basically the thing is that PS5 is designed to have a feature which lets you record a bit of party chat if someone's being abusive, and then send it off to Sony to report them or snitch on your friend.
Grass them up.
Yeah, exactly. And so people saw the notification for that and were like, oh, hang on, Sony's listening to us all the time. Oh my goodness, we're being spied on by the government. Quick, put your tinfoil hats on. And then Sony obviously had to come out and be like, look, this is just a feature that's coming to PS5. It's there to help. It's not like a kind of malevolent thing, I guess. But obviously, yeah, by that point, people had decided that it was some form of kind of, I don't know, 1984 thing. And yeah, it quickly spiraled out of control on Twitter, and there were memes everywhere, which were quite good, to be fair. But
yeah, some of it is funny. I quite like the idea of just deliberately grassing up my friends, aka my brother, even when he's not done anything wrong, just to ruin his day, hopefully. I think there's going to be a lot of friends trolling each other, sending Sony clips of their voice chats. What I want to know is who is in charge of having to deal with that, because you do not want that job.
Oh my gosh, can you imagine the kind of stuff you'll hear you get sent? Oh,
it'll be like those awful Facebook offices where they just have to watch and moderate all of the awful, horrific content that gets posted to Facebook, but it will just be like 9-year-olds screaming at each other because someone's knocked over their building Fortnite.
Oh mate, it's going to be worse than that. It's going to be proper.
No, it will be worse.
Sorry.
I
Call of Duty entries are going to be fun.
Yeah, I just said that, and I do want to say, I don't want to make light of this, because I do think that it genuinely could help harassment and toxicity, which is a really, really good thing. And even, I said this on Twitter earlier, like maybe it's me being naive, but even the knowledge that this feature exists, whether it's used or not, might deter someone from being awful to someone else, and that makes it worthwhile for me.
I wonder if someone's
maybe all the furore last night about like it spying on people, which is obviously bollocks, publicize the feature a bit more, and that's a good thing too if it puts people off being awful.
Yeah, but Sony won't be happy if it puts people off buying a PS5. I'm not getting this. Is spying on me. I don't want it to see me naked playing Fortnite. This is Connect all over again.
Why are you playing Fortnite naked?
Well, don't you? I only do it for Fortnite. Something about that game. But yeah, this reminds me of Connect. I remember Connect was spying on everyone. And
do you remember those shields that they started selling?
You could buy a shield to put over your Connects to stop it from looking at you.
They were selling those for
just put like a blanket, but also the photoshops were so good. Like putting the red eyes on them and stuff, just brilliant. I kind of hope that
I do part of Xbox or like console like launch cycle, because everyone's just so like they're clamoring for information, and Microsoft and Sony want to like dole it out in little dribs and drabs on their own terms, and so you get these ridiculous stories that
like the mysterious nut.
Oh yeah, do we know what that's about yet?
Yeah, it's the thing that you unscrew to take out the little hole where you put in the replacement SSD.
Oh, the SSD.
Yeah, when you're adding SSD memory, and it's in that bay.
Okay. Yeah. Well, Well, this highlights the difference in approach that Microsoft and Sony have taken. From our point of view, we've had Xbox Series X for a while now. I think it's fair to say, and I think it sort of as a website, we've had fantastic access to that console. As you say, getting the actual console to go hands-on with it at this point before the launch is pretty great. But Sony is taking a very different approach. I remember like some Japanese YouTubers were allowed to go hands-on with it recently, and that was a huge deal because it was like the thumbnails of the videos that they were putting online to trail the fact that these videos were going to go live the next day one of them had a picture of a human being like next to a PS5, and the internet lost its shit because it was like, oh my god, there's an actual human being next to a PS5 in an unedited, unphotoshopped picture, so we can actually see what it looks like in real life to scale against a human. And this is like 6 weeks before the thing is coming out.
And like before the UI reveal today, people were looking at like
Oh, I lost you there, Emma. Can anyone hear me?
Yeah,
Hello?
I lost Emma too.
Oh
and
no.
You back.
Yeah.
What were you saying? Sorry.
What was I saying?
Where
did I cut off?
Before today, people were looking at the UI, and then
people were looking at like a Burger King advert with like a glow coming from a box, being like, that must.
No, Emma's gone again.
Yeah, it's true though. Like that's the sort of climate that we're in now, where even Burger King can unveil the PS5 UI because, yeah.
So they
who knows?
that
Maybe
tweet.
that was going to happen.
Yeah, they did that tweet where the Burger King guy looked in the bag and it made that noise with that sort of like light coming out of it. And in looking at the video for that Sony put out today, that is the noise that the PS5 makes.
So I guess it was.
So that really was the first reveal of the noise the PS5 makes when you turn it on in a Burger King tweet, like teasing a competition to win a PS5. But what is Sony doing? How is Sony marketing this console? I just don't have a clue why any of this is happening.
I mean, you could make the argument that really Sony doesn't really need to do that much. It's going to sell out its initial shipment. It probably already has. It doesn't need to worry that Xbox is going to be on launch games. Like Xbox doesn't have a killer app. Sony at least has exclusives too. I guess if you count, well, Bloodborne isn't anywhere else. Not Bloodborne, Demon's Souls. Sackboy and Mars Morales are on PS4 as well, but you'll probably get them on PS5 compared to Xbox having nothing. I just feel like, I don't want to say Sony's arrogant for not putting more out there, but I also don't think it really needs to, in the same way that Microsoft does.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think Sony's in such a strong position that it can get away with this stuff, and Microsoft's playing catch up, so it's doing the more interesting stuff. These consoles are launching imminently. What is your prediction for success? Do we think PS5 is gonna sell more at launch than Xbox Series X, or the other way around? How do you think? Let's talk week one. What do we think the week one is going to look like? Emma, you go first.
I think PS5's got more to offer at launch, so I definitely put that ahead of like Xbox Series X. But then maybe it will come back for a stronger finish in the generation if they get some good Bethesda games, some good Bethesda exclusives.
We haven't even talked about that, have we?
Yeah.
Okay, so PS5 for you, Tom.
Yeah, I agree. I think the sales split is probably going to be about 2/3 PlayStation, 1/3 Xbox S and X. I mean, I don't think it's going to shift that much from this gen. I'm an example of people sticking with what they know and the sort of libraries that they have. I don't think Xbox has anything that can really sway too many people from PlayStation this year. So I think it'll stick like that, but over the generation, I think it will change. And Microsoft has for a while not counted its success on consoles sold because it's selling less than PlayStation, but also because they're in a different market. They're in the Game Pass market and the Steam market, and actually you're seeing PlayStation slowly getting into that as well. I mean, like Instant Game Collection or whatever they're calling the last gen stuff on PS5 is sort of a little bit Game Passy, and they are starting to sell stuff on PC as well. So yeah, but definitely this Christmas PlayStation 5 will sell more boxes for sure.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think it could be even more dramatic than 2/3. I think it could be a real almost 5-to-1 sort of ratio, if not more. I mean, I know both of them have sort of sold out across the internet generally. But my sort of feeling is there's much more user intent regarding PS5 than there is Xbox Series X. And early adopters, will want to get those exclusives, and Sony has a couple at least. I think since you mentioned it, it would be worth talking about this because we haven't before. But the purchase of Bethesda. I mean, if anyone had any sort of thoughts that Microsoft was not into games, forget that. Like $7.5 billion, I think it was, or something there or thereabouts on Bethesda. Just an astonishing amount of money to pay for this company. And the games they've got now, are incredible. It's almost like, the kind of, you see a post on the internet where some fanboy has dreamed up something that is going to be announced at E3 to try and fool journalists into reporting, fake hoaxes, but it actually happened. So Xbox has Doom, Doom is Xbox now. Doom, Fallout, Elder Scrolls. It's just crazy, really, when you think about it. So my question is this now Xbox exclusive? All this stuff from now on, not the existing games. Forget that. Do we think they're gonna just go, right, PlayStation, you're never getting a Doom again?
I think they might start swinging towards it. I mean, at this point, they've got to offer some exclusives, and I'm not sure how Halo's going to turn out in the end. But basically, yeah, saying that the next Elder Scrolls is an Xbox exclusive, would be huge. And then also, just in terms of market, I think Bethesda games and those kind of big open world games tend to be more kind of popular in the US as well. So it would be kind of consolidating the kind of Western market share of that.
Right. So are we saying the Elder Scrolls 6 will not come out on a PlayStation console? Is that what we're saying?
Maybe it'll be timed exclusive or something.
What do you think, Tom?
When the announcement happened, I thought, well, this is the market they're in now. They are a services and games market. You just look at Minecraft and stuff they're putting on Switch, and there's no way that Skyrim 2 or whatever it's called will not be on PS5. But
so you're saying there's no way?
No, I'm thinking
that's is coming out on PlayStation. There's no way it's not coming out on PlayStation 5.
Yeah, I thought I just couldn't see them making it exclusive. But the more I think about it, the more I think it will be. It will come out on PC.
Yeah, obviously. Yeah.
I can't see it coming out on PS5. I just don't think, now it's sort of settled in, I don't think you spend that much money to create this stuff and let it go on PlayStation. It just, you've got to get that money back somehow. And I think the main way
would they not be leaving money on the table by not releasing it on PS5?
I'm sure there's some really interesting sums going on right now where they're thinking, okay, well, 10 million copies on PS5 at $70 each, versus getting people onto Xbox, which they're trying to make as easy as possible, and getting them into Game Pass, which if you've got Ultimate, it's a tenner a month. You only need people in there for 7 months, and you'll probably still be playing Skyrim 2 7 months later anyway. That's it. That's that sale, and it's so attractive as well. Who doesn't want to pay £1 for that trial month of Game Pass rather than $70 or £70 for a full box that you buy in a shop?
Yeah, not to mention if you sign up for the kind of staggered payments for the Xbox consoles that are being offered with the Game Pass as well. It's quite an attractive proposition for a lot of people.
Yeah, I think the more I think about it, I think it won't be on PS5.
Right, well, let's do some very quick maths. So you're saying $70 times 10 million copies on PS5, roughly. Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
What is that? How much money is that?
Why are you asking the news team to do maths? You know that we're bad at maths.
We are very, very bad. But I was thinking 70 times 10 million wouldn't be too hard, but now I'm thinking about it, I have no idea what the answer is.
I think the easy way to dodge this is just to say that money, I mean, it doesn't all go
to I know, but
or Microsoft.
This is money that just wouldn't exist if they don't release it on PS5. That's why I think it's an easy thing to imagine. Right? They don't release it on PS5. It's just money that doesn't exist. So someone work it out. Someone has to work this out. $70. It'll definitely be $70. This game times by 10 million. 70
It'll probably
times
be
10
more than
million.
$70.
That's a lot of noughts.
70 times by 10 million is someone.
$7 billion.
Is this 700 million?
This is just embarrassing.
I think we should move on.
This is terrible. Because 70 million doesn't sound like enough. Like 700 million sounds like a lot. All right, they're leaving a bunch of money on the table. Okay, wow. Okay, well, for those of you who didn't know, we aren't great at maths. So, yeah, I think it will be. I hope it's exclusive for the simple reason that I think the drama will be astonishing. I don't think the internet will be able to cope if it's exclusive, and I think there'll be an army of PlayStation owners or fans or whatever who will just be incredibly upset that they won't be able to play the Elder Scrolls 6.
And would be a bit hypocritical after all of the PS exclusives, but whatever.
Yeah, but
they will be upset.
They'll be so. I would be if I had a PS5 and I couldn't play it. I'd be furious. Could I be furious? I'd be very, very upset. I'd be like, oh shit, that's a game I really want to play and I can't play it.
Wait, do you have a PC that runs it?
Well, I don't have a PC. I have a laptop that's powerful enough to play games on, but I don't know if it will be powerful enough to play Elder Scrolls 6 by the time that comes out. So I'm just saying, like, I have a PS5 and I don't have a gaming PC capable for the latest games. And then if Elder Scrolls 6 isn't on PlayStation, I'll be gutted, proper gutted. I love that game, that series. And then I'll be like, well, am I dropping 400 quid, 450 quid on an Xbox to play Elder Scrolls 6? I probably would. I love it that much. Oh my God. See? This is where they make their money back.
This is why it's not going to be on PS5, I think.
Jesus Christ. Okay, I think that's probably enough of us going on for now. Yeah, hopefully this works out and we can start doing this kind of regularly. There's going to be plenty more next-gen news and drama to come in the run-up to the launch of these consoles in November and beyond. I don't think it's going to stop. I mean, Cyberpunk isn't out until after the consoles launch, and that's going to be a whole new round of just all sorts. So this one's going to run and run. Anyway, thanks very much for your time, guys. Do you want to, Tom, do you want to tell everyone your Twitter handle since, let's be honest, that's what this is all about. If people want to follow you, what's your name on Twitter?
I'm on Twitter as Tom Phillips EG.
Tom Phillips EG. Emma?
I'm at GoneEFK.
And I'm WYP100. All right. Thanks very much for your time, guys. Bye.